Government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
We know big government does not have all the answers. We know there's not a program for every problem.
We will prove that there is no problem too large for government to solve and no concern too small for it to care about.
They do extremely well with picking a boogeyman out, and that is what they're doing. I mean, we cannot fall for that. I mean, they're simply otherizing Mamdani. They're saying whatever they want to say.
And it's not working, though. That's the thing. Like, the more they attack him, the more...
it's like...
So then the question becomes why they're focusing on Mamdani. And I think the answer is because of Mamdani's own words. If you watched his victory speech last night, he used one line in particular that sort of leapt out and left off the screen when he said that there is literally no problem. This was his line. There is no problem too big for government to solve and no matter too small for government to care about. I mean, that's terrifying. What totalitarians would say, is that they're literally, and then the two people he quoted verbatim, aside from Mario Cuomo, which was I thought a delightful little slap at Andrew. I thought it was a little nasty. But he quotes Eugene V. Debs, who's a socialist, and then he quotes Nehru, another socialist, and then he says, "I am a socialist" from the stage. So saying that President Trump is somehow going overboard when he has campaigned as this, when the Democratic Socialists of America, which is a base from which he springs and to whom he answers in many ways, is openly socialist. He's not talking about moral. He said on this network he hates capitalism. He said that on this network.
Ivan, I hear you don't have to pay rent anymore. Is that true?
I know what was coming.
Ellie, you don't have to pay Ivan rent anymore. I'm just letting you know. You have the new mayor. You don't got to pay no money. Everything's free.
And the bus is free.
Everything is free. You're not getting your rent, Ivan. You okay with not getting rent, Ivan?
Are you okay with selling and leaving?
Leaving?
Yes.
We're going to leave to, Ivan. Ivan, where are you leaving to?
I'm leaving to North Carolina.
Nice.
What's going on, everyone? Sauce Skinny here today. I want to talk about the Democrats changing demographics, and I'm not talking about their voting demographics. We already know their voting demographics. I don't want to go into it more, but I just want to play on this video. Nancy Pelosi's retiring at the time of me recording this video. You guys will probably see this on Friday, but at the time of me recording this video, Nancy Pelosi's retiring, and she served 40 years in the House of Representatives, right? She has done many policies. She's done many things that I don't agree with, like inside trading and all this fun stuff, right? And, people are taking jabs at her. Democrats are doing this whole soiree. Oh, my God. Welcome to the greatest House Speaker ever. Exaggerators. But, hey, this is politics for you, right? You love her if you're on her side. You don't like her if you're not on her side. But I think I want to play this clip here because I want to focus more about the socialism angle and how Mamdani's already changing his tune on a lot of his issues that he took, right? You saw the intro. Some people are trying to move out, leave. They can't leave fast enough. And I want to give examples because if you show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome. But first, let's honor the first woman House Speaker of all time with this funny joke and jab from Scott Jennings.
There were people who respected her legislative ability and, being a political boss. I mean, she was the boss of her conference.
Nancy D'Alessandro.
And there is, for political operators, a lot of respect for that. I'll tell you this, I don't know how much we raised over the years off of sending out fundraising appeals based on Nancy Pelosi, but it was a metric butt ton. I'm telling you right now, putting Nancy Pelosi in fundraising mail or fundraising emails would always produce. And by the way, it's not often that someone can become a titan of both Washington and Wall Street. Republicans will remember her as one of the most successful and prolific day traders. She beat the S&P 500 by 559% in her stock portfolio. She's worth a lot of money. She did an amazing job. So what a blow for the financial houses today on Wall Street. I'm sure they're mourning.
Just getting in an elbow, right?
Yeah, really trying to get in some opposition research.
That's a classic Scott Jennings, by the way. Like, I'm beginning to view what you just did there as like the Scott Jennings on TV.
I want Trump to put her in charge of the Social Security Administration. We could all retire in 6 months. If we let this lady manage our portfolios.
Do you know what I think?
And with all the joking aside, let's go back to our regular scheduled show. So new studies show that 87% of the government shutdown coverage on ABC, CBS, and NBC favored Democrats. This isn't journalism, it's propaganda. And this is something I've been really putting out, how the media highlights knowledge, right? Because I talk about, Kenny, what are some of the things you believe is stopping the country from making informed voting decisions? And I think it's due to the distribution of knowledge. The media, who still, a lot of people still go to them, still turns into them, still uses them to distribute knowledge across the country, they use it in their favor. And I talked about this a lot of time. Journalism is the most left-wing profession in America, right? Only 3.4% of journalists are Republicans. So, and you can see it with the output here. And there's no wonder that you see, the Democrats continuously making statements about how this is the Republican shutdown, right? They rather play clips of Democrats, oh, look, the shutdown's on the Republicans because they don't want to negotiate, but they don't want to put clips like this.
Much like, for example,
exposing hypocrisy.
That you get paid, you get a paycheck, but you get a paycheck.
I'm donating my paycheck, sir, and would happily be on legislation
what do you say to them?
to give.
What do you say to the staff? What do you say to the TSA workers? What do you say to the air traffic controllers?
What I am saying to you is this is a Republican shutdown, my friend. You are in control of the White House. You are in control of the House, and you are in control of the Senate.
And if you
went home to a food bank instead of going to Mar-a-Lago to eat at a gold-plated dinner while people are starving, you might see and hear your constituents, sir. You are blind to the suffering of your people.
Does it take 60 votes?
You listening and coming to the table to have a discussion.
So it does take 60 votes.
You want to have this, come talk to me in private, sir.
Okay. So it does take 60 votes, for the record, just so that we're clear on the reporting, so that there's no misinformation.
Being in politics for 40 years, this lady's been in politics longer than I've been alive. Wow, I'm 29 years old, so that means 11 years in, I was born in her career. For almost 4 decades, Nancy Pelosi has served the American people and worked to make our country better. No one who was more skilled at bringing people together and getting legislation passed. I'll always be grateful for her support for the Affordable Care Act. I stumbled on that because it's the Obamacare Act for me. Apparently, premiums went up 91% since the Affordable Care Act. So what did Obamacare actually do? It did make healthcare affordable. And I talk about the incentives of subsidies, right? The Medicare or Affordable or Obamacare, they undercut how much they're supposed to pay for these treatments because they want it on the cheap. And the healthcare companies lose money when they treat these patients. So what they do? Pass it on to the private insurers because the corporations is technically the one that subsidize those healthcare costs too, right? I'm just saying. And this is what creates these rising premiums. But then they have the goal to blame, this is Republicans. Republicans are responsible for the healthcare crisis. And this is the narrative that I'm talking about. And then the mainstream media, the fact that their institution dominated ideologically by liberals, they always push a left-wing bent on the information. Right? And there's not enough representation of Republicans and conservatives in this space. And this is one of the reasons why I think conservatism has really gone and moved online. And this is why a lot of leftists are trying to really come and crowd this space as well, is because they're starting to notice, the attention is no longer on the TV, it's here on the internet. And this is the war that I think many people are observing right now between the both sides, right? And what I try to do here, and I that's why I'm upfront with my opinion, I'm upfront with my bias, is that I don't want to mislead people. Hey, this is my take. Here's what's going on. I try to give you, balanced news, right? You got Fox News sprinkled in there. You got CNN sprinkled in there. I even put MSNBC. Knowing how I personally feel about that news channel, I call it BS now, right? I still play it for you, though, because I want you to get a consistent angle that nudge you more in the middle instead of just, now, obviously you're going to get my commentary. My commentary is going to be conservative leaning. But you have an opportunity to be like, Kenny, I kind of agree with the left-wing lady on this channel right now, right? But Obamacare didn't make things less expensive. And then I show you clips where the liberal and the conservative argue about Obamacare, and then you get clips like this.
I don't think anybody wins these things. And I actually think a year from now, it'll be, long in the past. People won't really be thinking about it. I mean, I don't really understand what Democrats, I think they got into this mess because of pressure from the left. Chuck Schumer's having a meltdown because AOC is threatening to primary him. They don't really know how to get out of it. I mean, after all, Obamacare is a Democrat law. The subsidies are a Democrat idea, and the sunset was put in the law by Democrats. You want to make it into a Republican problem. This is a Democrat health care debacle that you want to throw onto someone else.
Thank you for admitting that we lowered costs of health care.
You're saying, whoa. You're saying Obamacare lowered health care costs in America?
I think we made it more affordable, and because of the subsidies,
is this lightning
it is
proof?
lower.
Is this lightning proof?
It's
I mean,
access.
honestly, you think health care in America is cheaper since Obamacare?
We have increased access to Americans, and the subsidies
No,
were supposed
cheaper.
to.
You said cheaper.
And I always hate this argument from the left. I never really believe it whenever they say, oh, if we didn't pass these policies, it would have been worse. What evidence do you have that it would have been worse without living in an alternative timeline where these things didn't pass? That's the argument I always hear from the left. Oh, it would have been worse if we didn't do this thing. Really? When we can see time and time again, government money, government printing, government spending is what drives inflation. It's usually what drives cost, right? And that's what's going on right now, because a lot of people, rightfully so, are still complaining about the cost of living. Hell, a part of me, I'm complaining about cost of living. But at the end of the day, I understand, hey, Joe Biden set us up 20% higher, and all the inflation increase stacks over that point. If inflation went from 60 to 80 and Trump only slowed down the rate of inflation is still happening, by the way, it's stacked on top of what already happened with Joe Biden. So yes, cost is still up. Yes, cost of eggs and gas is down since Trump became president in his little time window. But overall, prices are still up. Yes, I admit that. The left right now is going, see, we told you, Katie, Trump can't do it. But end of the day, Trump just passed his agenda. Trump's trying to use the tariffs to help subsidize some of this stuff. And I know, Kenny, you're conservative, you believe in subsidies, and this is where I'm kind of in the middle, because I believe in some limited access, the government can help, right? But I look at the government like a referee. You set an incentive. Government is good at setting incentives. It can't solve problems, but it can create and facilitate a space where the people are in power to solve the problem. That's what I believe in. I believe the government is as an accelerator, not as a problem solver. If the government's getting involved in your life like Mandami wants in the intro, it'll make everything worse. And that has been observable throughout history. The reasons commies have to seize the means of production is because they're too lazy, incompetent, and envious to build means of production. The reason I almost said destruction is because I believe socialism is based in destruction. Socialists know how to destroy a system, but they don't know how to rebuild it into something that's better than capitalism. Capitalism knows how to build things, right? But the socialists just don't like the way that it happens, right? And I talk about it. As a capitalist, I admit that we are reliant on labor, but the labor don't want to admit that they're reliant on the capital. They are reliant on the person's vision, because at the end of the day, Amazon wouldn't exist without Jeff Bezos. But if Jeff Bezos had different workers, Amazon will still be Amazon, because he was the man with the plan. He was the man with the vision. He was the man that put his resources, his livelihood at risk, right? Because as a business, this is something that socialists never really understand about the capitalists. The capitalists put his property and his stuff at risk, right? He's not guaranteed anything. Record profits, you're not guaranteed that year after year. 1 minute you're making record profits, next year you might be going bankrupt. You take 100% risk. But the worker, regardless if it's good times, down times, he still has to get paid what he was negotiated. He still got to be paid his salary, whether the product do good or the product does bad. And yes, I understand when economic hard times come, the capitalists have to optimize to keep the business afloat, or prepare for, hey, we don't know how long this recession is going to go. We don't know how long this hard times will go. We have to have enough money in the fortress, just like you need to have 12 to 18 months worth of savings to tough out just in case you lose your job, right? That's a smart thing to do. And this is why I always saw myself as a businessman, right? Even though I work, I see myself as a business. I see myself as a sole proprietor. Hey, I trade my time for money, my skills for money. I see myself as a service. Okay, hey, for these skills, you pay me a salary, you pay me a benefit. And this is what I negotiate, because I see the reality of the interaction. I don't see it as, oh my God, I'm being taken advantage of. No, I don't see myself like that. I don't see myself as a victim. And this is the mentality that I think socialists have done good, especially college institutions have done well to indoctrinate young people in this mentality of looking at themselves or finding every opportunity to be a victim, because they have made victimhood a status symbol, and everyone's looking out of ways of how they can be a victim. This is why a lot of them fall into this queer stuff, this gender euphoria stuff, because it's one of their pathways of being a victim. Because college and left-wing ideology and left-wing circles have glorified being a victim. It's trending to be a victim. It's not trending to be like, oh, I have nothing wrong with me. I'm good. I'm chilling. I'm content in life. It's not trending to say that. And this is how one of the ways they use leverage of culture to do these things. And I want to give an example because, right now, I talk about how the Democrats, they're in a transition period right now with Nancy Pelosi retiring, them possibly opening the government. I told you this. These people literally use the government shutdown as a political tactic, a political strategy. Smart, by the way, from a political angle. Hey, Democrats, you played your hand well to engage your voters. But to me, I'm like, at what cost? Because end of the day, you're in a strong blue. These races were happening in strong blue cities, districts, states. I don't think you needed to do a government shutdown for them to win these races, right? But this is what the Democrats choose to do. So now the government shutdown, the government might be reopening in a couple days. Hell, it might open by the time this video come out. Who knows, right? But I want to just play this clip of what happens when millionaires gets taxed currently before Zoran Mandami gets into office. This is how much millionaires get taxed right now before he comes into office. Let's take a look. Yeah, I'm telling you this right now. I don't care how rich I am. I'll be damned if I'm stressing, right? I'm working hard. I'm busting my ass to take care of my family and myself. And the government sit there with their hand out taking 50% of what I make. What? And then people, the far left, progressives, right? Yeah, I don't care how you feel about my opinion, right? You're welcome here. As long as you're American, your intentions, your thoughts are in the best interest of America. Even if I disagree with your approach, you're free to express it on my comment section. I don't give a damn. But there's no way in hell you can't convince me that socialism isn't slavery. Imagine that. Imagine if it was another income. Let's say they lowered the bar and say, hey, we want to tax people who make the average income. Because that's what they do in these other European countries. And that's the funny part about it. The left want to be Europe so bad until it's time to tell the American people to be Europe. Because Europeans, they pay, regardless of income, I think, they all pay the same rate. 50% of everybody's income. You want what the Europeans have, but you're not willing to do what the Europeans do. Make it make sense. You talking about, oh, look how much better the Europeans' healthcare is. Do you realize the obesity rate in Europe is a lot lower than the obesity rate here in America? Healthcare for all in Europe is way cheaper than healthcare here in America. That's why I say you can't do the same thing they do because you're not doing the same thing they're doing. You're not staying in shape. Your body index mass is way out. It's past the index for a lot of y'all. We have the highest obesity rate in the world, and you think doing healthcare for all won't bankrupt this country? You funny. And unlike Europe, they don't got a major superpower funding their system through disproportional tariffs. That's one of the reasons why Trump went at Europe so hard with the tariffs, because he wanted to equal out the stuff. We ain't getting foreign packages from the European Union to subsidize our system for free health care, right? Europeans aren't paying more for drug prices compared to us to subsidize our health care. And that's the funny part. That's why I talk about this is why I'm very admittedly American first, because I believe a lot of the times for this globalist system to work, people have to use our resources. Europe gets to be like, oh, we get paid family leave from the government. We work 32 hours a week, but Americans here have to bust their butt 40 hours, sometimes 60 hours a week to make ends meet. So our taxes can go fund in a cascading effect Europe and the world for the beneficiaries of the politicians in power currently. And you wonder why a lot of young men are American first. You wonder why a lot of young men have very little tolerance for tax dollars, government money, funding foreign interests. You wonder why young men feel the way that they do. Because at the end of the day, sorry, this is reality. This is pattern recognition. Men are at a higher degree net taxpayers than women. Women take out more of the government system. They benefit more from government benefits than men do. And men pay into the government system more than they actually extract and take out of. That's the reality. So a lot of young men like me, we see this as, oh, this is extortion. You want us to work like good slaves so you can use the fruits of our labor, aka our tax money, and send it overseas. This is how I see it. This is why they push in the left-wing circles. This is why they push this culture of, oh, you shouldn't care. This is why the left push so hard against private property. They don't want you to see they don't want to view things in private property. Because the first instance, you're born with the first private property ever, your body. And you use that body to create money, right? That's your labor. You're entitled to your labor. You're entitled to the fruits of your labor. And the socialists try to brainwash you into say, oh, no, disassociate that. Disassociate your work from your outcome and your output. So that way they can just take the money away from you and you won't get a visceral reaction from it. And you see the effects. You see the effects. You see the political divide. You see the separation, especially the younger you go, the more drastic the political and ideological divide between men and women become. And then people are wondering why it's so hard for young people to date.
Mayor of New York.
Why would that be disqualifying?
Pierce, amen. Thank
Why
you for
would that be
bringing
disqualifying?
This
To say
is
you
New York
should
City.
defund the NYPD.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
New York City.
what's the answer to the question?
Mark, it's my turn.
Let Lindy
Please
go
finish.
first, and I'll let you respond.
I'm not cutting you off. I'm asking a question.
Please,
I'm
let
asking
me
why.
finish. 40% of unsolved murders, this is New York City, the biggest city in the country, and 40% of murders have been unsolved. And he wants to defund the police? Yeah, okay. And then according to some studies, 20...
Now he backed off of that now. He backed off of that, but that's what he was leading with, right? Young liberal women were willing to vote for that because they valued other things, right? I'm just saying, and like I said, I believe college education, upbringing, our culture, right? The left-wing view of valuing people's self-esteem over self-control, because it takes self-control not to want or be envious of what other people have. That takes self-control not to do that. Self-esteem be like, I deserve what this person have, right? But then the self-control question will be, but did you work the same way they worked to get what they had? No. The answer is going to be no. Because if you worked like they worked, if you focus on your own thing than worrying about what other people are doing, you might be further ahead than where you are right now. And that's why I say envy, socialism is the politics of the envy. But I digress. Let's wrap up the video.
5% of New York, they want to flee because of his policies, okay? He's on a speedway to hell. And another thing is, Mark, I felt like I was talking to, what's his name? Frank Luntz. I felt like I was listening to a new age therapist. Like, is he crazy? He wants to put forward people like Wes Moore and Cory Booker. Let's go through his people. Like, for example, Cory Booker tried the presidential campaign thing already. He was polling at 1 to 2%. Okay, so we already tried that. The trial balloon failed. Number 2, Wes Moore, he lied about getting a Bronze Star. These are the people that Frank Luntz wants to be the face of the Democratic Party? Then please, sounds good to me. And then he talks about the importance of Prop 50. Yes, it's important, but I also think it's a gift to Republicans because in this case, it allows Republicans to tie Gavin Newsom's failed policies to him. There's no way to disentangle the two. We are now able to tie $7 per gallon gas to Gavin Newsom. We can tie homeless encampments all across the state to Gavin Newsom. And you know what, Gavin Newsom, this is all about him running for 2028. This wasn't about the people of California.
Right. It may be.
Hang on.
Hey, and that's the reality of the Democratic Party. You know, Nancy Pelosi, I think she chose the right time to retire. I'm being honest, right, Shu? Hey, Nancy Pelosi, one thing I can say about that lady, all I know about her and what she's done, and hey, she's a smart lady. I think she knows when it's time to get out. So she got out at the perfect time. She's seen the changing tides. She's like, yo, I can't keep this mess in control. When she put AOC in her place, I forgot when it was. I knew, oh yeah, that lady about business. Now that she's gone, I don't know. Because like I said, I've been very consistent on this channel. If you're a left-winger watching my videos, you know I'm very consistent on this. Hakeem Jeffries wasn't the leader the Democrats need at this moment. I'm just saying. I believe Fetterman's a better leader, but you know, he's in the Senate. Chuck Schumer, I think he's past his prime. Hey, if he runs, I think Chuck Schumer needs to retire too. Because I think he's older than Nancy Pelosi. And you're not considering retirement, Chuck? Chuck, you need to retire. Right? Save yourself the embarrassment in 2026. Now he could still be AOC, but I don't know, man. I don't know. New York City just hired a mayor, a socialist mayor, who that will be his first job ever, his first real job, right? And they just put him into office. So I don't know. They might take a chance on AOC. I'm just saying. And you already see Madami already backtracking, right? Because the promises, right? This is the theory. All the promises. Now it's time for the reality. It's time for the governance. It's time for the outcome. And it don't look like, to me, it's not a good first look. You coming in, I have an all-women's transition team. Damn, you come across woke to me. I'm just saying, they might be all qualified. They probably are all qualified. But it just comes across woke to me. And it's already sending you off on a wrong foot, in my estimation, Madami. But it's New York. You can get away with that. But let me know your thoughts and perspective in the comment section below as I wrap up the video. Let me know your thoughts and your opinions about the future and the face and the platform of the Democratic Party. Do you believe it's trending towards socialism, or do you believe in 2026 this is where moderate Democrats start making a comeback? Let me know your thoughts and perspective in the comment section below. I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, please share this video. If you feel so inclined, it really does help me on the algorithm. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.